Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Tenacity Strength Fit for Duty podcast. I'm Larry Brown. My other half of the show, Vaughn Etienne, still out dealing with the real life issues that life does bring. But he's doing well, though. He's doing well. I reached out to him, and hopefully we'll have him back on as a regular contributor to the podcast. But until then, send all your well wishes to him. But in any event, I am very happy to bring on a fellow Navy man. I'm very, very happy to do this. If you did not know, the United States Navy is the greatest military branch of service that has ever existed. This is not up for debate. And I have the one and only James Ball, Revive MD athlete, raw athlete, and getting ready for a bodybuilding show. So, James, how are you today?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So just a little quick backstory on how I discovered, is it lieutenant or lieutenant commander?
Lieutenant.
All right, Lieutenant Ball. He was just going through his off-season training. I'm like, this dude has a lot of shoes and he has a home gym. And I think I discovered you at the height of the pandemic when you were actually getting in some good home training because you outfitted your space to be able to accommodate that. And I've been following you ever since, and the amount of gains that you've made has been nothing short of phenomenal. But I also found out that you're currently serving in the United States Navy. You have a supplement contract with a up and coming supplement brand, which is very, very hard to do these days as an amateur. And you have a killer shoe collection. So just give us a little bit of backstory of how you got into the Navy, where you're from, and where you're at now currently.
Yeah, so I enlisted in the Navy when I was 19 because my baseball career ended and I didn't know what to do, and I was going to school and I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I thought it'd be a good idea to learn something and serve my country. And then 15 years later, I'm still here. I'm still in the Navy. So it's been good. But now I'm currently I've bounced around all over, but I'm currently in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Been here for a couple of years now. So trying to not move as much anymore as I get older. And I got a home gym and a bunch of shoes, like you mentioned. So moving those is a little bit of a logistics challenge. Yeah. So, and then I got into bodybuilding, or I got into bodybuilding really right when I joined the Navy, because I was in the barracks and there was a gym close by, and that was about all I could do because I was 19 and I couldn't drink with everybody else, so I was too scared to get in trouble. So I just went to the gym, and then it's kind of right around, that was like 2006. So that's when Ronnie and Jay were battling it out for the Olympias, and I just was reading muscular development and all those magazines every month, and then I was just soaking up as much as I could, and then got bit by the bug, and I haven't really stopped since. But I did a lot of more so powerlifting and strongman after about 2 years of training, because I was actually stronger. I was stronger than I was big at the time, and my joints were still good. So and it was fun for me. So I did powerlifting and strongman for about 10 years, and then recently, about 3 years ago, is when I started bodybuilding. I did my first show, and that was because I had injuries to my hips, and I couldn't squat to depth anymore in the powerlifting meet. And then so I was like, let me try this bodybuilding thing out. And then I've been just 24/7. I really got bit by the bug this time, and then it's been fun. So I've been doing that about 3 years, and then prepping for a show July 17th. So I'm 4 weeks out, or 3 weeks out, 6 days right now. And then I'm still figuring out what national show I'm going to do, but there's some more to follow. But it's either going to be Masters, Nationals, USAs, or North Americans, or maybe all three, who knows. But yeah, that's kind of my story.
So it's funny. I just had a guest on last week, and everyone kind of got their start with bodybuilding via powerlifting. Were you a raw powerlifter?
Yeah, I did raw. So when I first started powerlifting, pretty much all there was equipped, but I just thought it was so stupid. And like, cause I'd watch the guys at the gym train and they'd spend like an hour putting their suits on and it just didn't seem real to me. So it was like, it was pretty rare to be a raw powerlifter back then. But then that's also kind of why I ventured into strongman, because that was all raw. And I was, with my build and my athleticism, I was pretty good at strongman. Except for overhead press or log press. That was my weak event. But if it was a moving event or like a deadlift event or anything like that, I was pretty good. So I did that for a while as well. And then I attribute that to building my base and my like work ethic and, you know, learning the big movements and how to, you know, fire the muscles and train really, you know.
Are you following World's Strongest Man at all?
I've kind of got away from it because it's such a hard sport to follow, because like I used to back in the day before like social media, but now it's like you get the results before it comes out on ESPN. So it's like it's not as cool to me anymore, but I'll watch it, but I don't like follow it like I do bodybuilding. But I think Brian Shaw won this year.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think he won. I think I saw something on Instagram, but
because
so that's
last
good for
time
him. I really like Brian Shaw a lot.
I like him. I started watching his stuff at the height of the pandemic too. You know, not to sidetrack into a strongman conversation. You think this is his last one?
Yeah, I think so, because I think last year was supposed to be his last one, from what I was gathering, but then the pandemic and stuff kind of put a, you know, I don't think they didn't have it last year. He held a strongman competition in his garage, which is pretty cool, or on his property. It was like the Brian Shaw Classic, but I think they canceled World's Strongest Man last year, so I think he was planning on that being his last one. So, but I think he wanted to end it actually competing, so I think he just did it, extended another year.
Okay. So where are you from originally?
I'm from just north of LA, town called Thousand Oaks, California.
Oh, okay. So you never got into bodybuilding while you were at home?
No, so I played football and baseball, but I was really good at baseball. Like I was a pro prospect and as a pitcher, and I would lift with the football team when we had to, but I would just kind of like sack the workouts, to be honest with you, because back then there was this big like misconception that if you were a pitcher and you lifted weights, it would get you too bulky and you wouldn't be able to throw as hard. So I was always like worried about that. And now I wish I knew what I knew now. I would have definitely taken training more seriously in high school, but I didn't. I like to like play sports and like, you know, the actual like practice and playing, but as far as like the off-season training, I wasn't the most devoted in the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time I lifted weights was in high school. It was like for football.
It's funny you bring up pitching and bodybuilding, literally, because the College World Series are in Omaha right now, and that's going down, and it always brings a pretty big crowd. So it's always interesting to hear how former baseball players get into the sport after their career ends, because I don't think people realize how much of a grind baseball is.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like bodybuilding, because baseball is such a long grind. Because I mean, I played year round since I was like 5 or 6 years old, basically, and it's just like I like the grind, and that's exactly what bodybuilding is. The bodybuilding is the biggest grind there is.
So you leave strongman, you leave powerlifting, and you dive into bodybuilding, pretty much at the peak of the Coleman Cutler rivalry, which spawned many bodybuilders to get into the sport.
No. So when I was first started lifting, I just wanted to get jacked. That was it. Like and I went from like 180 pounds out of boot camp to like 240, probably in like 6 to 9 months. And that's all I cared about. I did DC training, because when DC training was kind of like new, and like I was on intensemuscle.com, learning everything from Dante Trudell. And so I did that for like 2 years. I want to get jacked. But then I was like, there was only open class. And I was like, man, I'm never going to look like Ronnie or Jay. But I was pretty strong for my size. Like I was, pulling in the 7s, squatting in the 6s, benching in the 4s, but I didn't look like Jay Cutler. But so then I was like, I could do well at powerlifting. So that's kind of how I got into powerlifting. But my first 2 years, I only cared about getting jacked as possible. And then I went to powerlifting for like 10 years or so.
Okay.
And then I bodybuilding the last 3 years.
Okay. So had you ever made a trip to Gold's Gym Venice when you were younger?
Yeah, I went out there, not when I was younger, but I went out there on vacation to see my family after a deployment in 2016. And I went to Gold's, and then I went to Muscle Beach, like out the outdoor gym.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was cool.
I went once and it smelled like hot corn nuts and toe jam. So
yeah, you had the day pass was like, I think it was like $50 or something. I'm like, all right, whatever, you guys got me.
It was crazy. I'm just like, I don't think so. But
it's not the same now though, because Venice, because of last year, just really, went downhill, and everybody kind of moved out of there.
Really?
Yeah, like they all moved to Vegas. Like pretty much all those guys, like Sean Roden, because Flex Lewis started up the Dragon's Lair, and they all kind of like, a lot of them migrated to Vegas. Because Venice is just like, it's overran with like it's sad, but homeless people, because of the pandemic, just crushed a lot of people there.
That is disappointing to hear, but I mean, definitely not unexpected, seeing as that California took a big hit with the pandemic. So tell me of how you balance your career with bodybuilding, because I'm gonna get back into bodybuilding in a minute, but I'm always fascinated by military bodybuilders that actually do really well in competition.
You just have to, if you want to do it, you could do it. It gets so, if there's a will, there's a way. So you plan your meals out, you plan your day out, and then you plan your training around your work schedule, and it's very feasible. And then the military is such a structured environment, like there's built-in time to like work out and things like that. Like it's a workout culture, so there's really no excuse not to do it. So the people that make excuses, I'm sorry, but they don't have any. Where it gets tricky though is when you go on deployment. So you could do very well on deployment, because that is the most structured environment when you're on a ship in the middle of the ocean for 9 months, because you do this same, you wake up at the same time, you eat the same time, you train, you work out the same time every day. The issue is like your food. So you can get the main thing is getting calories and getting protein in, so you'll always be able to get that, but you might not be able to like really like diet down for like a show, because the way some of the food's prepared and things like that. But I mean, you can get, like, that's a good time for like an off season, in my opinion, like if you're on deployment, because of the food. I mean, you could probably prep pretty far, but you'd have to really, I mean, now it's kind of easier with like Amazon and stuff. Like if you need to order a bunch of like tuna packets and rice packets and things, you could do it, but and protein powder and those things. But yeah, I mean, and the gyms are usually pretty good. I mean, you have the basic stuff. That's all you really need. So that's just how I balance it. I just make it a priority, to be honest with you. And then, you got to get good at your job, and you got to get good at training. So you just got to, keep going, always learning.
And you were on a class of ship that isn't very large. Tell us about that. Living in a space, living on a ship that isn't very big, but is so vital to the Navy's mission.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been on the biggest one. I spent majority of my time on aircraft carriers, which are the biggest ones. So there is a little bit more gym there, but there's also a lot more people. So don't really have as much gym space. But like, so like I was just on a cruiser, which is like a crew of like over like 300 compared to like 5,000 on a carrier. But, you know, proportion wise, you probably have more gym space because, you know, we had like 2 gyms on there with all the equipment you would need to make sufficient progress. Yeah, I mean, and then, you know, I'm lucky now. So I'm an officer, so I eat in the wardroom. So the selection of food's a little bit better than the mess sex. So I do have that privilege now.
Did you started off as enlisted, correct?
I did, yeah. So my first 7.5 years I was enlisted, and then my last 7.5 years have been as an officer.
Okay. Now, you're a pretty tall person. How tall are you?
6'2" and some change.
And
Not
you
quite 6'3".
and you filled out your frame really, really well. I want to get into exercise selection a bit because I feel a lot of tall guys see how, say, a Nick Walker is training and they try to replicate that, but they don't understand that they don't have the same leverages, and maybe a free weight squat isn't that great for somebody who's above 6 feet or 6'1". How do you think about your exercise selection within a training cycle, and how do you cater that towards your height?
Yeah, so for that's been the thing I've probably learned the most in the past 2 years, and that's mostly in the past year, to be honest with you. And that's what I attribute my most amount of gains to, is my exercise selection and then picking it for my body. So there's no like exercises you have to do. So that's the number one thing I learned. You have to pick exercises that work for you and work for your body. So like for like quads, like you brought up a good point for like squats. If I do a barbell back squat with my long femurs and my poor ankle mobility, I'm almost going to get zero knee flexion going forward. So it's going to be very, very little quads. So all it's going to do really, and I'm going to be bent over in order to get that butt's going to go way back. So it's going to be a lot of posterior, lower back, glutes, and then very little quad. So that is not going to be an exercise I'm going to choose when to build my quads. So I find like for quads specifically, for like tall guys and like poor ankle mobility as well, you have to elevate your heels. So I always, all my quad workouts now are always on a wedge. So I use either like anywhere from a 10-degree wedge to a 30-degree wedge, depending on how much forward knee travel I want. And then, you know, I kind of just model, like if we're just talking about like quads, that's how it is. So it's going to be heel elevated, either squats, which they're still good. You have to get your heels elevated so you keep your torso upright, your knees travel forward. And then I like to do a lot of single leg stuff as well. So like a forward lunge with an elevated heel, because you can kind of work around your mobility issues and really get in a good knee flexion, forward knee travel. And then hack squats are key. And I don't really, like, if I do leg presses, I can't do a standard leg press with my feet all the way on the platform if I want it to be quad. So I have to really like almost only use the balls of my feet on the bottom of the platform. And you know, it's going to limit how much weight you could use, but that's the only way I'm really going to get my quads involved on leg press. Now, if I want to get like glutes working, then I could just do like a standard leg press, but it's going to be a lot more hip extension. And so it'll be a lot more glutes, or if my widen my feet out, more abductor. But quads is really typically a hard one for taller guys, and I think that's the issue. Is you know, they pick a exercise like you said, like Nick Walker's does, and he gets so much knee flexion because he's got shorter legs. His range of motion is a lot smaller. But if I'm going to get that full ROM, there's no way I'm going to get there with knee flexion. It's going to be a lot of hip flexion to get back, to get the full ROM. So I find that like very effective, but you just kind of have to get tricky with it. But a lot of the other like upper body stuff, I don't think it has as much of effect as it does with quads. I think quads is the biggest one for like a taller, longer limb guy. With the arm stuff, maybe arms too. So arms, I got away from all like compound movements for arms. So I don't do like close. Cause I used to be able to close grip bench press 4 plates for reps, and my arms still sucked. Cause they're just so long, and it just wasn't mechanically inclined for me. So I've pretty much gone to all like really kind of like, exercises where, like a lot of cable work for arms where the joints can get aligned with the cable, and I can pick the line of force, because that's what differs from cables to free weights is your line of force with a free weight's only going to be gravity. So it's straight up and down. So, when I was doing a lot of skull crushers and free weight extension movements, my elbows were getting beat up because I wasn't able to get it aligned correctly with the line of force, which is straight up and down. So I've used a lot of exercises, more cables that are more advantageous to, lining up with the joint so I don't get elbow pain and really kind of getting tension on the muscle versus my joints.
Do you think exercise selection is something that a lot of people don't put into thought? They just figure, hey, so-and-so is doing this, well, I'm going to do this, when in actuality, they should probably go a different route.
Yeah, 100%. So like, you get people like, well, Ronnie did barbell rows. He had a huge back. Well, sometimes barbell rows just are not going to work for you. It might, it's actually, it's a good, for a beginner, it's a great exercise. It's going to thicken you up overall, and it's going to get you strong. But, barbell rows might not be the best, like, lat and upper back exercise you could choose. You might be better off doing a chest supported dumbbell row. You know what I mean? Where you can really brace yourself and really target the tissue you're trying to target. Or
So
like deadlifts. Like I had a huge deadlift, but it never did much for my back. I still love to do them because it's a fun exercise for me, but there's much better lat and upper back exercises that don't come with the fatigue of a deadlift. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Deadlift was my favorite as well. There was a saying that I used to go by: the meat doesn't start until the bar hits the floor, meaning you really haven't done anything until the deadlift comes along. But as a back builder, knowing what we know now, it's an absolutely terrible back builder, an absolutely terrible lat builder, I should say. So I feel like we follow a lot of the same people as far as exercise knowledge goes. And I think during the pandemic, a lot more people had time to read and really think about their training because they weren't in the gym, they weren't in the heat of the moment of training. What are some of the sources that you have picked up uh, over the past few years that have really helped you elevate your physique and your training to the next level?
Yeah. So if we're talking strictly like training, it's Coach Chasm on Instagram. I don't know if you follow him. He's like he's in the N1 training and N1 education.
Yeah, I got a
Yeah,
membership to his
he's
website.
been my biggest, like without question. Like as far as training, I just kind of model all my training off of him, and my exercise selection and different type of stimuluses I'm trying to get with like loading cramp like that. Alan Kress, I learned a lot from him as well. So I've gotten older, so I have to train a little different than I used to in order to still stay healthy, which is important because when your elbows hurt, you're not going to be able to get big arms because you're in so much pain you can't lift correctly. So I've learned a lot through Coach Chasm and then Alan Kress on how to train smartly and still be able to, like, you know, put tissue on and feel good. And then another one is Paul Carter. I get a lot of good stuff from him as well. And then a couple other pros like Hunter Labrada. I really like his training style as well. And him and his training partner, Brian, they're very, I look up to those guys a lot for training as well. So I'd say like those 5 are my big 5 that I really kind of look up to for, like, you know, training. And then Matt Jansen's my nutrition coach. So I've learned a whole lot from him in the past, you know, couple months. So that's what I look for nutrition.
And we follow a lot of the same people. I've known Paul for years, and I've met him a couple times too. Hunter has a really intelligent approach to his training as well. So with your training, what are some of the things that you focused on in the off season going into prep for this show that you're currently doing?
So my key was I wanted to bring my arms up because my arms are just like god awful. So like, because I was a powerlifter for so long, I never did like really good arm training. Like I'd throw in some like row push downs or some like hammer curls at the end of a workout every now and then. But so I had a big issue with arms. So that was my number 1 goal. And then my number 2 goal was to get my lower lats developed. And then so using all of like Coach Chasm's and like Hunter's training and all those things, I've really learned how to the exercise selection to get my arms up and get my lower lats up. So that was my big focus this off season, really, because my legs kind of always had like naturally thicker legs. So I didn't have to worry about them like too much, but I did have to bring them up a little bit. Like the sweep, my outer sweep was kind of, as a tall guy, you're always going to need more sweep. So I guess that was another area, was getting my sweep up a little bit. And then, so that was learning how to get my knees forward and to target that tissue versus my adductors tend to overpower on leg movements. So to get, you know, that vastus lateralis engaged, so getting the quad fully lengthened is what I found that really helped with that. So kind of those 3 things. And then, you know, for arms, it was really boring because I would just do like the same 4 exercises like every arm workout, and I just progressed on those, and it did wonders for my arms. And then for the same thing with back, I did the 1 arm lat pull downs. Like I do a couple different variations of them because I didn't know, you know, for 12, 13 years how to train lats. So I had a pretty decent upper back from all the, you know, how I used to row and how I used to do pull downs and things like that. But I never knew about the elbow travel and how the lat actually functions and what it's supposed to do. So I started finally training it how it functions, and you know, I kind of figured out how to get lats. So that was my main focus this off season.
What are some of the misconceptions that people have about being I'm going to consider you an elite level amateur bodybuilding because your conditioning is off the chain, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But what are some of the misconceptions that people have about being in the military and being an elite level bodybuilder?
What do you mean, like misconceptions?
Like you must work out all the time, your command must give you extra time off. You know, are there like any preconceived notions that make people think you get special treatment from your command when in all actuality you probably don't?
No, I don't. You know, I'll get a little like shit from my peers because like when you're like 6'2", 3, like I am, and like 250 pounds, pretty lean, like a lot of people just don't like really mess with you. So you kind of like, you don't get a lot of pushback really. So I always kind of like get away, which helps my department, really helps me in my job, because there's not a whole lot of like confrontation. But it's not really like a misconception. Like I get shit for it, but it's really because I'm good at my job and I know what I'm doing. Because I was prior enlisted and then I transferred to officer in the same career field. So basically, like I was a logistics specialist, and then I transferred in the supply corps. So I have a lot of knowledge in what I do versus like other officers that are been in the same time as I have. So I know my job really well, and I know how to like, get stuff done. So the misconception is I get whatever I want because of like my, stature or whatever, but it's really because I know my job and I'm not a dumbass. So I'd say that's the biggest one, but I don't work out. Like I work out at like 4 a.m. I get up at 4 a.m. and I'm working out at like 4:30. So I get my training done before work. That way, if something comes up at work and I have to stay late, my training's not messed up. So I start the day with a huge W. And I'm a huge believer in that. I love training in the morning now. Like I just like, if I don't do it in the morning, like I just like my day's like ruined. So like I make sure my training doesn't get messed up by that. So like nobody could talk smack to me, I get privileges, like I get to work out more or whatever, because I'm not. I'm prioritizing it, and I'm making sacrifices. I get up at 4 a.m. when they're getting up at like 6 a.m. to get to work. And then, but I also train twice a day, so we didn't just talk about that. So I train at 4:30 a.m. and then I train at 4:30 p.m. So I'm like a madman.
Tell me more about that double split. Is it both just gym sessions, or is it one gym and then one cardio?
Right now, it's 2 gym sessions, 2 cardio sessions. So I do like gym, like weights. So I'll do like so today I'll just like I did chest as my AM workout, and then I did 30 minutes of cardio, and then I just got done with my shoulders and triceps, and then I didn't have time to do my cardio, so I'm gonna have to do it after this. But yeah, that's it right now. I'm on double cardio. But for typically speaking, if it was off season, it would just be AM weights, PM training, and I might do cardio like 3 to 4 days a week in the off season, but just one session, not 2.
Okay, so you're a machine right now. Yes, I definitely agree. One of the things that I do like about you is that you have your own. You're also a coach, which I find phenomenal. But also you have your own mini movement on IG called #melting ice. Tell me how that became about.
Yes, that's funny how it started. I was in a prep in like 2019 for my last shows I did, because I couldn't compete last year because of COVID. But I was on the step mill one day, and I was just like, banging out some cardio, like towards the like, sweating and dying basically. And then I said, look, we're out here melting ice, blah, 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 'cause I was sweating a lot, and there was like sweat all over the step mill. And then I used the #melting ice. And then like it just like caught on. Like it was like really, really big in 2019. And then everybody started tagging me, and them doing like cardio or working out or whatever. And they'd use the #melting ice, and I like reshare it. And then it's like it took off, and it was like a pretty good, got people like working out, and you know, kind of like an accountability thing. And it helped a lot of people, like, and not just like, we're not talking like competitors either. We're talking just like, people just trying to get in shape and be healthy. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Now you've amassed a very huge following on Instagram. I haven't checked your final numbers, but it's well over 10K. What do you attribute this this social media success to?
Um, I never like was like I didn't care about a following when I started, and I still don't. So I just try to like put out content that people would enjoy, and I engage with everyone. So like if you comment on something, I'm going to like reply and thank you, and like, or if you have a question, I'm going to answer it. But I just focused on putting out like real content, and I didn't try to like, sugarcoat anything or, make it fake. And then I focused on, putting out quality content too, like, like learning how to like take pictures and edit them, and, things that people would enjoy watching. And then I try to mix it up. So I don't have like I'm kind of weird because I don't have like a full bodybuilding page. Like, if you look on a normal bodybuilder's page, it's be nothing but like progress pics and then maybe a training video here and there. But I also do like kind of like my shoe collection and some like lifestyle stuff. And then I try to get some funny vids snuck in there every now and then, because I do like humor and jokes and kind of being funny. So it's kind of like I just kind of try to show my personality basically. And then I think people kind of just, like that. And then I never cared about like a following. Like I never like, bought like, followers or engagement packages or all those things you get in your DMs that they try to get you to buy. I just kind of focus on, I try to put out like information stuff. Like sometimes I'll do like a training video and I'll like explain an exercise, like execution. And then sometimes, I'll put like a, physique picture up, or sometimes I'll do like like I did one yesterday where I was like flexing on the mirrors of cars and everybody thought it was funny. So like I try to kind of like mix it up, I guess.
So tell us about this crazy shoe collection that you've amassed, which is absolutely impressive. Um, how long have you been doing it? What led to the shoe collection in the first place? And do you foresee yourself selling off any pairs at all?
Yeah, so I started like when I was like probably like 8 or 9. I just like loved shoes because I'd watched all the basketball. I really liked NBA basketball back then. And then that was the 90s basketball. So it was like the good era of basketball. And that's when the shoe game was just crazy back then. So I played basketball when I was younger. So I'd always like, want Michael's shoes or Shaq shoes or, whoever. And my mom would like, luckily she'd buy me like a pair or two a year, and I'd, keep them clean with my toothbrush. But that's kind of that's how it originally started for me. Was back when I was younger, and it's never really stopped. But it got a lot bigger once I, progressed up the ranks and got more money. I was able to kind of go back and buy all the shoes my mom wouldn't buy me. But so I would say most in the last like 5 years, it's gotten like a lot bigger. Because, when you start out in the military, you don't necessarily have the most money, and, but I'd still, buy shoes when I could, but it wasn't like I could now. I'm actually, because I don't wear like some shoes I just don't wear anymore. So slowly downsizing a little bit, just because I have too many and you kind of run out of space. And then kind of just go for like I haven't really even bought that many shoes this year. So if I don't like love it, I'm not gonna buy it. Whereas back in the day, I'd be like, yeah, it's cool, I'll get it. But not so much anymore. And then this year, like it was the bodybuilding contest, but like this, ever since The Last Dance came out with the Michael Jordan series on ESPN, like the shoe game went crazy. So like there's all these, like there's a big resale game now, and it's like their shoes are so hard to get, and you got to pay like astronomical prices for them. It's kind of like turned me off of the shoes for a little bit, but
It's
I'm
funny.
still into it. It's like a hobby, and it kind of like keeps you, you got to pay attention to like the drops when their shoes are releasing, who's selling them, how you're gonna buy them. So it kind of like keeps your mind busy. So I'll
It's
never
fun.
stop because I love them, but slowly buying less and buy. So quality over quantity basically is kind of where I'm at now.
So it's funny. I'm born and raised in Chicago. So I was there for when Michael Jordan was a rookie, basically exploded the Bulls into an international phenomenon. And he's coming out Jordan is coming out with a shoe next year that actually pays homage, because me and him are also in the same fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and those are supposed to be coming out early next year.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and I want you
February.
I want you to keep in mind, I have never owned a pair of Air Jordans at all. The closest I got was a Pro Wings, and they looked like Jordan, but they were Pro Wings. So this will possibly, if I can get my hands on them, will be the first and only pair of Air Jordans I have ever owned, for the simple fact that, one, I'm not a big Air Jordan shoe fan, and two, Nike's absolutely destroy my feet, but I cannot pass up on that pair that will come out next year. So I'm waiting for them. So that'll be the only thing in a shoe collection I have, because I can't fathom having that many shoes, but also at the same time, that will probably be the only pair of Air Jordans I ever own.
You have to let me know your size when I get closer. I'll see what I can do.
I definitely will, because I see you are like, I'll just log on and they say you ain't got them. Well, I'll just be like, well, fuck it, I don't want them anyway. So I'll walk away with the attitude, secretly crying inside. But yeah, I definitely need those shoes. Absolutely. And even if they tear up my feet, I'll just wear them one time and they could just go back in the box. So let's talk about personal life for a minute. You are married, and your spouse is also in the military. Tell us how that relationship came about.
We actually met at when we were working on the joint staff in the Pentagon. We were in the same like area, so we kind of just hit it off there, and been in love ever since. But yeah, we met at work. That's kind of how that happened. That was back in 2016.
Was she into bodybuilding at all, fitness, or just like enjoyed working out?
No, so she's always been involved in like fitness, but like she grew up as a competitive swimmer, like in college and stuff. But she always like working out, like running, things like that. But recently, in the past like 2 years, she's got like really nailed down her like diet and like her training, because we got the home gym downstairs, so it's like perfect. And that's actually originally why I got it, was because I got it before the pandemic even, so I was already prepped for it. But because she didn't necessarily like going to the gym, like she's one of those girls, because guys will look at you and you're at the gym, like she's just uncomfortable there. But so she loves like the home gym, so it worked out really good. So it got her really into like more weight training. But she's got a couple competitions coming up. So she's doing the Wounded Warrior Games in September down in Orlando. So she's doing like the swimming events, rowing, and powerlifting. So she's training for all three right now. So she's all 100% in her training right now. So it's pretty cool so we're kind of both doing like, I'm training for bodybuilding and she's training for her thing. So it's like, we're always kind of, going.
Do you handle her nutrition at all for these events, or is it just something she's kind of crafted on her own?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing with your wife and nutrition though. So I give recommendations, but I'm not like she's a client. And she's not, because I don't want to be like too pushy, and she's not like the one to like, weigh out, the food to the grams and eat that. But she's got a pretty good meal plan where she's food that she enjoys, and it's working for her. But she'll ask me, like we talked about a new little training split today, and then kind of like when to like, because she's going to start doing like more of like a carb cycle approach. So because like with some of her trainings a little bit more demanding, so we kind of like went over like how she should cycle through like the week, like high and low days and things like that.
Okay. What was some of the most difficult aspects of your relationship when it first started?
For her to like, as far as like being a bodybuilder, for her to like understand like the amount of time and like how hard the grind is for bodybuilding. When I was doing my first show, she didn't like understand like how I was feeling, especially as we got closer, and like how tired I was getting, and how much time I was spending at the gym, like, away from her. But so her kind of learning how to get with like the bodybuilding, to be with a bodybuilder. That first prep was pretty hard on us, I ain't gonna lie. But now she knows the groove. Like she knows I'm like 4 weeks out, so she kind of knows I'm not as talkative. She knows I'm going to be spending more time, doing the, extra cardio sessions and things like that. I'm a little more anal on my diet, but I pay it back to her in the off season. So like I'll spend, mind that, I'm not spending as much time working out because I'm not doing as much cardio, and, we can go out to eat more and things like that. So she gets it. I just got to pay it back on the back end. But that part was hard as far as like a bodybuilding, being with a bodybuilder. She didn't quite understand, like, how precise you have to be with your nutrition, everything, like, how it fits into the day. It's, most people don't understand what goes into it, but she knows now. But as far as being like dual to dual military, we had to, I was in DC for a year while she had to take orders down here in Virginia Beach. So like for a year, like I was driving down or she was coming up every weekend. So that was like, that kind of sucked because like during the week it was alone, and then you drive down after work on Friday, and then you gotta come back up on Sunday. So that sucked because that was like a year long. But we're over that now, thank God.
How many more years do you think you got till retirement?
Well, I just hit my 15-year mark in May, so I have at least 5 more to get to 20. And then, so at least 5 more years. So we'll see after that if it's still wise for me to stay in or venture out. So I'm trying to venture out to the do fitness full time as well. So I've kind of got that like a couple irons in the fire. Obviously the iron in the fire more right now is the Navy. But we'll see. I don't, because we're going to be having kids and things. So it's like, you got to factor that in. Like, am I going to have to go on deployment again, be away from the kids and her, or vice versa? So these are just decisions we're going to have to make as we kind of progress, but at least 5.
So tell me about, and you brought up a good segue, that you're trying to get into fitness full time. You're a coach. Tell us how that came to be, and who are some of your mentors as far as the coaching aspect of things go? Who are you learning from the most?
Well, I learned, so I've been, reading as much as I could on nutrition and training since 2006. It's like when the muscle boards were around, I would read every single post from like, I learned a lot from Dante Trudell as far as like training and like, how to put on some size. And then Skip Hill, I don't know if you know him. He owned intensemuscle.com.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar.
So he was
with
my coach the past 2 years. I just went over to Matt this year. So I learned a lot from Skip. So like on how to like, really kind of peak for competition and, look full and dry and things like that. So I attribute a lot of my knowledge from Skip. I learned a lot from like Justin Harris, a lot from Scott Stevenson. I would say those are my main ones that I really learned, like as far as like, like nutrition and kind of how to be like a coach, and kind of like, I use kind of like, I don't use like I use like approaches that I like from everybody. So, and then, I started being a coach by just helping buddies out for shows, like just for free for a couple of years. And they all ended up doing well and getting shredded and things like that. And then now I've just kind of started taking on clients and building up my roster within like the past year. So that's how I started. I did it for free for like 3 years because I was like, I need to learn. There's no better way to like learn on people. So I just kind of mastered my craft that way before I started charging people. I think that's important. I think you got to do it for a couple of years before you can, really say, kind of what's going on, because everybody's different and you got to be able to respond to people's bodies and, at different times, because people react differently and they react differently to different stimuluses and different stressors. So you got to be able to adjust on the fly. So you got to have a good toolbox. You got to have a lot of tools in the toolbox. You can't just have like, a wrench. You know what I mean?
What is the most difficult aspect of coaching for you?
When I don't have clients that are in it as much as I am, because I'm all in, like with the training intense, diet, everything weighed out, everything ate at the same time type of the deal. So when I have a client that's not, if I sense they're not like training hard and they're not necessarily following the diet the whole time, I have a problem with that. So it's like figuring out how to get them to do that. That's outside the X's and O's. That's out of like getting proteins.
I've heard that like complaint many a time. Like, if you're gonna hire a coach, and if anyone's listening, if you're gonna hire a coach, be all in with your coach and be upfront and honest about what you're trying to do, because you don't want to waste the coach's time. And let's be honest, coaching is a premium service and it costs a lot of money. So you don't want to waste people's time, basically, is what I'm getting at. And I'm sure if you wanted to hire James for your service, he would appreciate that as well. Like, be all in. And I find that a problem with a lot of people that get a coach. They're not all in. They get coaching for status more so than results.
Yeah, then like like sometimes I'll get a client, right, and I put together like initial plan, which takes a while. That's the when you first start getting things going, and then it's adjustments from there. But like I'll put I put my questionnaire. Do you prefer macros or do you prefer what to told and what when to eat and what to eat? And then they'll put when to eat, what to eat, and then I put what they need to eat, when they need to eat it. And then they come back with, well, I don't really like this. Is there any way I could substitute it with this? And I like this, and I don't like that. And I'm like, well, come on, like you asked for this. This is the best way to do it if you want to achieve your results the fastest possible, and that's what you wanted. So now you're coming back, saying another thing. I just find that funny.
Yeah, that's usually the case that I hear. I'm no coach, but I've heard horror stories. So tell me, I've never been like true 4 weeks out condition. How do you physically feel for people that are wondering how it feels to be somebody that's over 250 pounds, low body fat, and also 4 weeks out from a competition? Can you quantify that for us?
Yeah. So I actually feel really good this prep, to be honest with you. And I think it's a mindset thing more than anything. My mental space is really good. Like I'm really locked in this time. And this isn't my first one. So I've been here before, but you feel really good in the gym and you'll feel okay during cardio. Sometimes better than others during cardio, but during the day, you're just like, I don't really want to move. But what I do is I keep a minimum step count I have to hit outside of my cardio to make sure that my NEAT doesn't go down. So getting that NEAT, which is I'm doing at least 7,000 steps a day, is very hard for me right now. Just like staying active, because I really just kind of want to like lay down and sit down. And my job's very inactive right now because it's a desk financial job. So it's a lot of spreadsheet work and cool things like that. But I don't move a lot. So I have to force myself to get out and walk, things like that. And it's like, it's tough. But the other thing, as far as like the energy levels, is expelling energy like like via communication. So like I'm slightly introverted, so I've taken like the Briggs-Myers test and all that. So I'm a little bit on the introverted scale, not full introvert, but so I could be like an extrovert when I have to, but it wears me out. So having to like converse with people and like explain myself or like arguing like, you know, my position, I'm just like not into that right now. So it's like I get very short with people. It's pretty much like a yes or no answer type of deal, I guess you could say. Just because that's like, it's very wearing on me, like communicating with other people. So like, um, that's the hard part for me is like, so I kind of withdraw myself as much as I can as I get closer and leaner. Yeah, like my wife knows, like, babe, I want you to lay on the and watch this movie, but I just don't necessarily want to have a full-blown conversation right now. So she gets it. You know, I need her there, but I don't necessarily want to, you know, get in a real, you know, meaty conversation right now. So at times.
And that's kind of standard fare, I feel, from everyone that I've ever talked to. So if you didn't know, I used to work for Muscular Development in Flex Magazine as an intern before I got into full-blown journalism. And then on top of that, I was are you familiar with Muscle Mayhem?
Yeah, the website.
Yeah, it was a message board ran by Chad.
Yeah, I used to go there all the time.
Okay, so I was a moderator on there.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah, my screen name was Bad Leroy Brown.
Oh shit, no way.
Yeah. So I was there for years as a member and then went to the moderating side. But that was the standard talk of how people were that tired 4 weeks out. And I think I spoke to Tom Prince one time, and he said he basically feels just short of death 4 weeks out. And he had a notoriously brutal diet. Like, it was terrible. But it got him in shape sometimes. Now, with you having to expel communication to your subordinates, do you find yourself passing it off to like your LPOs more than anything?
Yeah, but I'm actually like, so my new job, I literally no one works for me, so I'm 101. I'm the comptroller for U.S. Second Fleet, so I don't have like my previous job. So I just got my ship tour ended in March, so there I had like 50 people working for me. But yeah, so when I would diet, then I would pass it off to my chiefs a lot. So like, or my divos. So I had 2 divos and I had a senior chief and a chief. So they kind of got a lot of my like a lot of taskings from me, more so than usual. But you know, I would handle stuff with my bosses and things like that. But a lot of the other stuff will kind of get passed off more. But now it's just me. So I just report to my commander, which is 3-star, and that's it. But yeah, it's kind of I got a good job for bodybuilding because I don't have to. I'm not really managing people, which typically, you know, that's where a lot of your time goes, like in a normal, like if you're on a ship. But so that's a lot of energy. So now it's just strictly work, and you know, it's really no management whatsoever, which is a nice change of pace because I did, after 3 years of having 50 people under you, it's good to be kind of on your own for a little bit.
What legacy do you want to leave as a person? When we talk about James Ball, what would you like for the words? What words would you like to come out of people's mouths about you?
I would like for them to say he inspired me and helped me to be better, because that's what I do, man. That's my whole focus. So if I can make everybody inspire and make them better around me, I'm going to be successful. So it's not about, and I learned that in the Navy, because like as you move up, it's really not about what you do at all. Like my fit reps and my evaluations or whatever, they're not based on like what I do. They're based on what my whole team does. So I need to make everybody better around me. So I've always tried to be a leader, and I consider myself more of like an inspirational type of a leadership trait. It's kind of one of my stronger leadership traits. So I would like my legacy to be, he inspired me to be better, and inspired and helped me to be better. Because I also like to like teach and learn, teach and help people learn. So kind of goes with it, inspiring to want them to make them want to be better than actually give them like the tools and the knowledge to be better. And that's why I like coaching.
Okay. Let's talk about this home gym that you have. Let's talk about this home gym that you have. How did this come to fruition? Like, talk us through the stages of you cleaning out that garage, getting all the equipment. What'd you start out with? What was your first big purchase, and how do you just build on from that?
Yeah, so I started that 3 years ago, and me and my wife moved into this house that we're at, because I wanted her to get more into weights, and she wanted to get more into weights, but she didn't necessarily like going to the gym. So I kind of didn't plan on it being a full gym. I just planned on it being like kind of like a place where I could do a little bit of lifting if I wanted to every now and then. But I started off with a deadlift platform, the squat rack or the squat stand I have. I got a power bar, and I got a trap bar, a curl bar, and then I got a bunch of free weights, not free weights, plate weight, and then a dip attachment, and then and rings, and then I had some bands and things. So that's how it originally started. And then I was like, oh, this is fun. I love training with no one bothering me and my music blaring. And then I kind of just started building from there. So then I ended up getting a lot more dumbbells. I had a bench too when the first initial order. So that was probably I think I spent like $3,500, and it was like a big rogue shipment. And that's kind of how I got my feet wet. And then I ended up getting a lot more dumbbells, and then I progressed. I got a glute ham raise, so I needed to get some knee flexion work in. I was like, oh, that'd be good. I'll get that. And then I got a belt squat. So then I was kind of really a full gym type deal. But then the second most recent buy I did was I got the Prime Fitness functional trainer, and that kind of just made it to where I did not have to go to the gym whatsoever, because I could do everything I need to do with cables and my dumbbells and my barbells. And so and I've just gotten crafty with the stuff I have to kind of make more like a more like a full gym complement that they have. But I just recently bought the Prime Fitness leg extension, leg curl combination that just came out with last week. So that it's unfortunately not going to get here for 16 weeks, but it's already paid for and it's in production. But so that's going to really make it to where I do not have to go to the gym. Because I really like training, and it's all about atmosphere for me for training. You don't necessarily need the best equipment. I like the aura of my own gym, and I like me working out in there by myself, or sometimes I'll have a buddy come over and just crushing the training and just getting locked in, not distracted by anybody else. And then I don't wait on anybody else for equipment or anything like that. So I really, really enjoy it. But I have been training legs on Saturdays with John Rivas, like you mentioned, at a local gym here, just because I'm in prep, he's in prep, so it kind of made sense. And we're both around the same. I mean, we're both around the same weight. He's 4 or 5 inches shorter, so he's thicker than me, but and he's strong. He's a former world record 242 before Larry Wheels got it. So, and we click, and we're good friends, and it's kind of a no bullshit training session. And I do like to get leg curls and leg extensions in, and that's kind of why I like to go to the gym to train with him. Plus, it's just kind of a good break. kind of like a little weekend, outing with the boys, type of a deal. But so yeah, me and him have been training, picked up back training together like 8 weeks ago. And we just been murdering eggs and just try to kill each other every Saturday. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Justin was talking very highly of him. So talk to me about the intensity of having a training partner versus not having a training partner. I know you mostly train alone sometimes, but do you feel that you could push the envelope even further if you had a training partner that you linked up with all the time?
Yeah, I think that I think for legs, what's going to separate your leg development is having a good training partner, because, like just say you're doing dumbbell bench presses, like you're probably going to be able to get all the reps you can get by yourself. Like you just, there comes a point where you're not going to squeeze out another rep, no matter how much someone's pushing you. But if you have, on hack squats or leg press, and you're like, oh, this fucking hurts, I don't know if I'm going to get any more. You could probably get 5 more with a good training partner, because your quads will still keep going, especially in the higher rep ranges. So I think that having a good training partner is what's really going to make your leg development better. Because you got to find someone you click with, and you got to find someone that wants to train like they have a gun in your head, just like you do. And it could also go the other way. Like you can train with someone that's not putting out the energy you want, and you're going to have a shitty training session. So training partners aren't necessarily a good thing, in my opinion. You got to have the right one.
Okay. So I'm not going to keep you too much longer. But as a parting shot, is there anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of talked about everyone that really kind of like learned a lot, and so I thank all them again. But Matt Jansen most specifically, and Dom, for they've been a huge part of my success and taking me on like the Revive and Raw team. So I'm extremely privileged to be part of that. I've been with them pretty much from the start, for both, and so I've been extremely grateful there. And then their mentorship and giving me the opportunity has been great. And then of course I want to thank my wife, because she's the one that I train twice a day, so it's a lot of dirty clothes. She's always doing my clothes are big, so that's a lot of laundry baskets. And then she takes care of a lot of things as the prep gets down, because I have less energy, so she just kind of gets it. So I kind of stopped doing as many chores as I probably should be. And she's super supportive and everything. So I think she's my main anchor and support system I have. So I couldn't do it without her. So if you're listening, it's very important to have a supportive wife if you're choosing this bodybuilding thing, because they will make or break your life and your success in doing so. That's it. And then everybody else I talked about, they've been great mentors, and I attribute all my knowledge to really them, learning from them.
So I lied. I have one more question. How did that relationship between you and Revive and Get Raw, how did that come about?
I think it started because of my sneaker collection. So Matt and Dom are big sneakerheads, and so I think I found Matt, or he found me, and because I was like, it was like showing my shoes or something, and then he had some, and like we kind of just got to talking, and then just kind of went back and forth a couple different times, on various posts or DMs or whatever, and then they just kind of liked what I was doing, and then decided to take a chance on me. So it's been good. Very fortunate. But I think that's how it started. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Matt is a crazy sneakerhead. I've never been able to get into it. Now, if you have bodybuilding magazines, maybe I could compete, but like shoes, I just can't do. I can't do.
Yeah, it's just a different hobby.
It's absolutely a different hobby. Well, James, I'm not going to keep you much longer. I do appreciate you stopping by, and fair winds and following seas. I'll definitely be watching and how you perform in these next few shows, and hopefully you'll if you choose to do a national level show like the Masters, which I think will be an excellent idea, hopefully you'll get that pro card.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about, so my show's July 17th, and then Masters Nationals when I compete. So that's a Saturday, is July 17th. Masters Nationals in Pittsburgh is the Wednesday following.
I mean,
so I just have to snap it right back in. So I don't, and then maybe that's the shortest way to just get this over with and hopefully win. I'm really thinking about that now. But my other option is doing North Americans, but that's holding on a condition for another 6 weeks.
I would just do Masters just to see. I would do Masters because it's just so close to your show. Like North Americans,
it might be too close because 5 days or 4 days, which means a weigh-in's 3 days from my thing. I'm gonna have to water cut to make the classic cutoff.
Yeah, that is true.
You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna rebound a little bit after the show because I'm gonna be loaded up and all that stuff, and then I'm gonna rebound a little bit, and that's a quick turnaround to drop it again. So we'll see. Because I'm like 250. I was 251 this morning, so that's 14 pounds over my cutoff.
God, and that would be a nasty cut to.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
No, that just made me hurt listening to it.
Yeah, my buddy Bartley Weaver, so I do a podcast with him. He just won the Junior Nats Class D, so he got his pro card this past Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
He dropped from 240 to 230 to make weight, and it was pretty gnarly.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
Yeah, like that's when you're already like lean and like dry, and then you still got to do the 10 pounds.
Well, I know you have a podcast. You want to plug that and let people know?
Yeah, so we're on. We got a bodybuilding and cheat meals podcast. So it's me, Bartley Weaver, and Casey Wilson, and so we're all. Bartley just got his pro on card. He's doing the Puerto Rico Pro this Saturday, just to do his first pro show. And then Casey's doing, he's either doing USA's or North Americans. He's a really good classic competitor as well. And we're all really good at eating a lot of freaking bad food. So we kind of talk about like, bodybuilding and then how we incorporate cheat meals and like things like that. So it's kind of fun because Bartley's actually a pro eater as well. He's a first pro eater, pro bodybuilder ever.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, he's like really good. He's like really good at eating. It's amazing what he can put down. It'll boggle you. But like I'm pretty close to him, I like to think. So it's kind of funny that we can all like put down a lot of food.
Are you guys on iTunes and Spotify? People can look for you.
Yeah, we're on YouTube and we're on iTunes and Spotify. We're on all three. It's called Bodybuilding and Cheat Meals. I think if you just search it, they'll all come up.
Okay, so you guys heard Bodybuilding and Cheat Meals. So go support James. This is a good dude. I like him a lot, and I'm wishing him nothing but the best. James, thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. You go and have yourself a wonderful Sunday, and I will definitely see you on the Instagram. So if people want to get in contact with you for any coaching, or they just want to follow you, where can they follow you at?
jballer32 on Instagram. And then like if you go to my profile, I have a link in there for my coaching application. Take it right there.
Okay, guys, you heard it. Go follow him, go support. James, thank you for stopping by. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Larry, for having me. I appreciate it, man. It's been a lot of fun.
No problem. For Vaughn and Teen, I'm Larry Brown, James Ball, and we'll see you next time on the Tenacity Strength Fit for Duty podcast.